Hello, everyone. I'm audible. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Let me start my presentation. Let's start this event. Um, okay. Can you please share? Thank you. Okay. So thank you so much all for joining the Atlassian Community event. This is our second event, and this was Islamabad community. Um, for this second page.
I don't know if you guys were
No problem. Okay. For this, thank you so much all for joining us in this event, for all the speakers, for all the volunteers, and all the moderators that joined us in this event. Um, I don't know what happened with my PPTs; they are not working right. But uh, no problem. Easy. Okay, so we are working around the Islamabad community, and the purpose of this community is to share the knowledge and the skill development under the Atlassian products like Jira and some other tools which they have. The collaboration opportunities within the community, which they're working some under different roles. Um, so our vision is to empower every design and product team in Pakistan to achieve seamless collaboration and efficiency through the Atlassian tools. And then I would give a shout out to our marketers. They help us in outreaching. They are proud partners. Like we have been proud partners with Agile Pakistan, who they help us in getting the wider audience, prompt our initiative, and shared our vision. Right, um, empowering better teams with the workflows and agile practices. They have the vision. Okay, so special thanks to our voluntary moderators, Mohammad Hashim Irfan and Khadija Ihsan. And I'm hoping when they are ensuring this event should run smoothly. So we have some facilitation of Q&A and discussion in this event. After the event, you guys can have you can email us, or we can connect you with the speakers as well. So over to you, Hashim and Khatija.
Assalamualaikum everyone. Okay,
Walaikum Assalam.
okay. A very warm welcome to our Atlassian Islamabad community event. I'm Khadija Hassan, your co-moderator for today. Today's session, Jira Blueprint for Design Teams, is about helping design leaders, product managers, and teams use Jira more effectively to collaborate, reduce bottlenecks, and deliver value faster. We're joined by an outstanding group of speakers: Omar Husnain, Assistant Director, Product Design, Easy Pesa Digital Bank; Zulal Ahmed, Software Designer, Security AI; Asad Nawaz, Senior Product Designer, Odoo; Mohammad Haris Arshad, Head of Design, MRS Technology; Usman Fiaz, Entrepreneur and Project Designer, Design Peeps; Sebastian Gear, Co-founder and MD, Footprint Intelligence. Each one of them brings unique expertise from fintech to UX leadership and to global design intelligence. Before we move forward, I would like to add that you can share your questions in chat. We'll return to it when our guest is finished speaking. Now, over to my co-moderator Hashim to set global context.
Thank you, Khadija. I am Mohammad Hashim Irfan, and it is a pleasure to co-host this event today. Globally, teams that align design workflows and tools like Jira report notable gains in speed and clarity. But many still face the same pain points: isolated feedback, unclear ownership, and tool overload. That is why today matters. Jira can act as a framework for design teams, bringing structure to creativity, aligning priorities, and making delivery measurable. Our speakers will share practical insights on basically three things. Number one, structuring Jira for design ops. Number two, aligning product and design backlogs. And last but not the least, scaling user centric workflows globally. By the end, you'll leave with clear frameworks you can take back to your teams. And remember to post your questions from our guests. Let's begin with Sir Asad Nawaz, Senior Product Designer at Oddo. Asad has played a pivotal role in creating intuitive product experiences and has led design work for apps with millions of users. Today, he'll walk us through Figma, how Figma workflows align seamlessly with Jira to ensure designs ship effectively and progress is tracked with clarity. Over to you, sir.
All right. So before I begin, thank you so much, Hassan and Atlassian Community Islamabad Center for giving me the opportunity to speak here. The moderators, Hashim, Khadija, for moderating this event, hosting, and I really hope this event goes pretty smooth. So let me know when you can see my screen. All right. Let me know when you can see.
Yep, it's visible.
It's visible. Great. So before we address elephant in the room, for those who don't know me, I'm Asad, and I'm a human being at first, who actually is on the mission to add value to the lives of 1 billion people. And when it comes to work, I'm a product designer. Apart from my work, I'm a podcast host, and I'm also author in the making. So before we dive in to the content, this is way more. This is like relatable to the solo team members who are just solo designers in their organizations, or they are just trying to scale their team, or at least bring the awareness of Jira to their organizations. So today, as we know, that design is way more beyond the screens, right? Today, the designers in today's world are juggling between countless responsibilities at the same time. For example, user flows, feedbacks, content, copywriting, UI design, UX design, Figma, collaborations, communication, and many more. Along with that, not to mention all those little unnoticed tasks that actually lives forever in Figma, Notion, or endless browser tabs. And at many times it gets really chaotic, right? So to tame the chaos, what you do? Organize, right? To kill the chaos, to organize. Speaking of the organization, that's when I heard about Jira, honestly, and I actually wanted to give it a try, right? And so when I opened Jira for the first time, this is how it would look to me. This was the first impression of Jira. Right, I got really scared because it was too rigid, honestly. It seemed very complex and it was really non-creative. And I just thought that it's maybe not for me or not for any creative person. It's for the PMs or engineers. But, you know, as a professional, who is the most unpredictable trait? That's designers, right? So the curiosity element forced me to try actually what Jira actually is capable of. So I give it a first try with something that all the designers work till their last breath. I launched my portfolio through Jira. So what I did was actually simply I just created 4 steps and keeping it very, very simple. Like I didn't overcomplicate it so that I actually explore naturally how Jira would help me as a designer. And I just like try to organize everything that I could. And I was jotting everything down. And it really helped me track everything, honestly, from research to actually like launching my portfolio. It was simply organized, and I tried to like avoid any kind of chaos and overthinking. It really helped me like organize stuff so that I can always go back and see what's my progress. And Jira actually gave me the clarity of like what's done and what needs to be done. And like after actually making progress and actually finishing my first project through Jira, it was actually a success. And I thought this was just a professional thing for me, but let's just see if it can help me in the personal ways too. So I tried again Jira with the second project, and that is track my book launch. And at this time, again, I used it for the first time for my portfolio launch, and for the second time, I used to explore more and more stuff without any going all in. So it was a very natural transition when I used Jira not only for professional but also personal projects. And after like my second project, I wasn't really scared at all because now I know what Jira is capable of, what it's like, how it's going to affect my workflows, my productivity, my organizations, and stuff like that. So my experience of using Jira went from this to this, right? And let me just clarify like what worked for me, and eventually what can work out for you too if you are exploring Jira for the first time, or if you are bringing the awareness to your organization. Just simply start small and keep it very simple. Avoid overcomplicating it. Just keeping it very simple through three statuses: what to do, what is in the progress, and what needs to be done. For the bigger picture and for the easiest way, I think this is something that can actually put you on track and help you in organization, avoiding chaos in your workflows, and of course whatever you actually want to achieve, of course through proper tracking within your teams, or maybe if you're a solo designer, you can also sort your workflows out. And with that, will lead to questions.
Okay, so moving on to questions. The first question that I have from you, Sarasan, is as design teams globally are scaling faster than ever, how do you see tools like Figma balancing collaborative creativity with the discipline of shipping and tracking at scale?
So I mean, currently if there are a lot of plugins that you can also keep the track of your Figma designs as well as in the Jira. So if you can plug it in, and you can sync your Jira and your Jira workspace and your Figma, you can actually have a real-time tracking of where the design, like the status of your current sprint. For example, if you receive the requirements, you can just set up your Figma, of course, if that's the plugin with Jira, and whatever you make the progress in the Figma, you can also see it on Jira. So it will be a real-time tracking, which also is going to save a lot of time for the cross-functional teams as well. And yeah, that I think that that is going to save a lot of time at scale, of course, because the more people you have in your teams, it's really hard to track actually where the design actually is heading, and how long would it take, what are the timelines. So with this, the extra work of doing everything separately would, I think, trickle down, I think, if that answers your
Okay.
question.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so as we all know, with AI beginning to automate parts of design workflows, how do you envision the role of human designers evolving in shipping and tracking real-world products?
So, as I mentioned, that AI, of course, is going to help you speed up your workflows, but there is something that if you do anything at scale, like AI is going to help you in shipping things faster, but when it comes to scale, unfortunately, it's not at that stage. So you need Jira and its integrations with your designs, so that you can move faster with scale. Because it's going to be again a little bit chaotic when you will be down the lane processing with AI. Of course, AI is helpful, but when you're doing things at scale, and if you are pushing it an extra mile, this is, I think, going to be the right approach. When you integrate all those workflows of Jira with their tools, of course, they are also working on their ecosystem as well. So it's going to be helpful in way many other ways when it comes to shipping the designs.
Perfect. Moving to my last question. Many companies face the challenge of design debt. How should teams track design output in ways that prevent future inefficiencies without slowing down innovation?
Can you repeat? I didn't hear
Oh,
you.
yeah, sorry. Many companies face the challenge of design debt. How should teams track design output in ways that prevent future inefficiencies without slowing down innovation?
Perfect. So again, it's again related to the step-by-step approach,
Hmm.
right? So if you move really fast, there's going to be a lot of scratched surfaces around you that you later calm down and repair that. Because if you move really fast and way longer, it's going to be the debt actually would keep increasing. So with again the Jira, thanks for thank you to Jira for like actually keeping the track of things. You can actually bit slow down your speed and actually work at scale with thinking without slowing down, of course, since Jira has all of your blue, like your tracks of all of your records. So it's going to be really helpful that you also have the backtrack of things, and you have that in mind that if the debt is going to be larger when you are moving ahead and ahead without looking at back at it, you are going to be um, you actually lead to a very chaotic situations where you will be having a very painful way back to actually repair all and cover all the debt. So with again Jira and Figma integrations, you can also have a track of what's your debt, what's your current debt, and what it's going to be when you will be advancing in the ways. So when you have a track record of this, I hope team will um, actually team will actually focus on how to overcome the debt as well as innovating in the different directions.
Thank you, Asal, for setting the tone with practical insights on design to deliver alignment. Next, let's look forward to how a brief can turn into a true design win. Our next speaker is Zulal Ahmed, software designer at Security AI and a framework web specialist. Zulal's expertise lie in turning ideas into visually stunning, user-centric digital product. Today's talk, from brief to design win with Jira, dives into how brief translates into real, tangible outputs. The floor is yours, Zilal.
Khadija, I guess Zulal isn't with us, so we should proceed
Okay.
with Sir Haris. Yeah,
Yeah,
over to
sure.
you. Yeah.
Okay, let me. Okay, so next we have Mohammed Haris Arshad, Head of Design at MRS Technologies. Haris leads UI, UX, and product design strategy, taking teams from initial concept to finished solutions. His talk, From Blank Canvas to Done, shows us how creativity meets process. Over to you, Sir Haris.
Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you for the host and the moderators as well. So the first thing first, let me share my screen and let me know when it's visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, let's start. So the presentation topic today is designing the day as a designer using Jira. The topic is basically simple, from blank canvas to done. So these are the table of contents we are going to go through today. I will start introducing about myself, just a quick one. We will go through the basics of Jira in a day-to-day scenario, how you use Jira as a designer and or how I have used Jira as a designer. Then we will quickly look into the structure of Jira, how the tasks should be created and how to log the work properly. The fourth is the famous the Kanban board. You all might have heard the name of. The fifth is the design meets Jira. So it's about before and after of Jira. And six is we are we will suppose a scenario of creating a website design. And the seventh is a quick recap. So manners first. I will start my introduction for those of you who don't know me. I am Haris. I'm leading the design department at Embarrass and Electronic. In numbers, I have more than 9 years of experience related to design and user research. I think that would be it for my intro since As I said, it would be a short one. We will move to the main part of the presentation. So, Jira basics on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, like the PM wants you to make a task for everything you do. This means explains it in quite a well manner. So, on a day-to-day basis, as a designer, when you are using Jira, what do? You create a new task with all the details in it. You move the task into progress. You work on it, and then when you think you are done, you move the card into the relevant column to update its status. It can be in review, or it can be done if it's done, and then you log hours, the actual time you spent while working on it. Since it's not a linear process, so you can start from anywhere here. On a day-to-day scenario, you can start from work, you can start from updating by card to Jira, but this is just a normal day scenario uh, as a designer. So this was it. As I said, it would be a quick view as a designer when we are using Jira. Next, we will talk a bit about structure of Jira and how to create perfect tasks and how to log the correct time. I think if I explain the structure of Jira, there wouldn't be any good explanation than this name here. So the very first thing or the big part is epic. The next is the story. Then comes the task, which is assigned to a designer, and this name quite explains it well. So the very biggest thing in the Jira you would see is an epic. So epic is the bigger part of the plan. Let's say you're designing a website. So the epic would be redesign a website. Then you, as a designer and a developer, you have to create a story. Story is basically from a user's perspective. Story delivers value to the user, and in the literal definition, story helps define what users actually want to achieve through the website or through a page. Story is a smaller part of an epic. Story goes something like, as a user, I want to do this. As a user, I want to sign up easily. It all starts with, as a user, dash dash, I want to dash. And the smallest unit, actionable unit is work. It can be design a section, design an illustration. Yeah. So this was it for the I think main structure. Then we will now look a bit into the tasks, how to create a well-structured task. So as I mentioned recently, the task is the smallest actionable unit of work. It's the smallest thing that you can work on within a day. Parts of a task, there are many parts of a task, but few are important ones. There's a title, which is very necessary for the task. It needs to be very descriptive. Uh, Description needs to have all the goals and the acceptance criteria. Assignee is basically someone the task is assigned to. Priority defines how urgent the task is. Estimation tells you how much time it would take you to complete a task. If there's an epic, you can attach to the task as well. Attachments are basically the relevant files for the task. Comments you can add in a task. Once you update status, once there's something you require from a PM or a client, you can comment on the task. And work log is basically the time you spent and you log it by the end of the day. So the question arises how to create a well-structured tasks or that makes your PM happy, which is quite difficult, but we will look into it. So a well-structured task consists of a meaningful title. So if you are designing about a section of a page, then you have to write it as design. If you write of the about a section on the home page, description must include the goal of the task and its acceptance criteria. Assignee, you can assign it to yourself if you're creating a task, or the PM or the team lead does it for you. Priority, correct priority of a task is very important. It makes your and your team leads or PM's life easier to track down. Estimation should be between 1 hour to 8 hours, since we work 8 hours in a day normally. So it should be, as I said, the smallest actionable unit. So it should be within a day. Epic, again, you can attach an epic that is making connection, a parent relationship, and the epic. Attachments are important. You can attach some files with the relevant task, or if there are some images, you can attach to it as well. Logging time is important as creating the task, and it helps into future sprint logs as well. So the correct way of logging would include all the details and log it by the end of the day. Instead of delaying it, you might not remember what you even did a few days ago, and log the time correctly, even if it exceeds the estimate. So this is the correct way, the right one, the green one, of logging a task. So it includes all the details on the right. You see, this is what how you should be logging time inside the task. So I have been there, completing the task and then creating it, and I think the manager is congratulating me for creating a task beforehand, which I completed and then created it. So the famous Kanban board. Kanban board basically helps track, uh, in a very, I would say, bigger perspective, it's the status updates. So there are columns that are different statuses that inform which status you are currently on today or the task is on today. So in a normal view for a designer, this is how a Kanban looks. It's quite simple. For other teams, it might be somewhat different, but for designers, from a designer perspective, this is how the Kanban looks. There is a to-do column. It includes all the tasks you are assigned that you are about to work. And in progress, there is a single task. This is the task you are working on. In review includes the task that you have shared for review, internal or external. And bigger companies, in review can be divided into certain two parts that can be internal review and external review. Blog is very, I would say, a rare site, but this column exists, so we have to include it as well. And done is the most favorite column, where you feel sigh of relief when you're done with the task and you move it. This feels like an ASMR. This happens when you check your board after vacations and it's filled with tasks. It happens when your PM or your team lead loves you so much that you get infinite number of tasks. So the main course. What happens when the design meets Jira? I have personally experienced it. Before Jira, I used to manually manage the tasks using sticky notes, notebooks, just noting anything I get my hands on. So, but it was a chaos. Unorganized tasks, um, you get endless changes and on a random times, and you cannot track those changes. You cannot track the time of a task you spent on. Goals are very unclear, and sometimes the scope changes within uh, on time you're working on it and mid progress, and there's nowhere else you can do, know what else you can do. So, and then constantly priority switching. You are working on a task, and then you get a message on a Slack or Teams that priority has changed. Just do this first. You cannot, I would say, inform anyone the situation you are in. If you have to find the relevant document, it's very hard to find the relevant document sometimes, especially when you are stuck on a task on an urgent one. Uh, how time basically, when you are not using Jira, it's very hard to track time. You cannot know how much time you spent on a task, or your PM or team lead cannot get a quick overview how much time you actually needed and how much time you actually spent. And the most, I would say, the thing that annoys all is manual updates. You get message on Teams, what's the status, what's the status. And that is the most annoying thing. But Jira solved it all. So the very first thing is you get work prioritized in a very mannerful way. You know the tasks are sorted by priority. It looks very beautiful as well. Then comes the clarity. You know exactly what the goal of the task is. what you are about to do and what your users expect from this task. Scope cannot be changed within mid progress. If it is, then it's considered as a separate change. You have to create a new task and you get to assign new to it. Effort visibility, designers are being labeled as someone who just draw lines on it, lines in Figma. But once you use Jira, your effort is visible when you log time and you tell someone you need 2, 3 hours, 4 hours for a single task. Your documents will get very organized, and your PM doesn't lie he knows what you are working on when he looks onto the Kanban board, and you get actual snapshot as a manager. I can relate to this, that you get very accurate picture of the project timeline and the estimates of the whole project. So chaos happens when you do not use Jira, but once you use it, it's turned into a simple clarity. You get clarity over all the things, all the tasks, project estimates, the budgeting, and everything. So let's suppose a task we are assigned to do. Let's take an example of redesigning a home page, a very simple task to do. So what should we do? What should we do exactly? We will go step by step. So as I explained earlier, the very first step is basically to create tasks in the backlog. Backlog is a you can say the warehouse where all the tasks are placed, and then you can throw them into the board and add them into the progress. So you have to create first all the tasks in the backlog, section by section, asset by asset. You cannot, I would say, create sections for two tasks uh, collectively. Secondly, you have to define priority. Your PMs can help you. Your team lead can help you with this. And the very important thing when you're using Jira, uh, if you're working on a task, you have to keep a single task in progress. So this gives a very clear picture to anyone who gets into the board exactly what you are working on. If you keep 2 or 3 in progress tasks, then you can expect a message from anyone like what exactly you are working on. And I would say the very most important thing as a professional, take responsibility of your tasks, move them when it's done, be proactive, mention your, I would say, the managers when something is required, uh, mention client when you move task into the review. I think I will explain quickly using Jira as well. Let me just share my screen again here so I can tell you guys what exactly I'm going to. Okay. Yeah. So I hope the screen would be visible. So this is what uh, Jira looks like if you haven't seen it already. So this is the backlog where all the tasks lie. Again, as I said, this is the warehouse for all the tasks. Again, so this is an epic. As I said, we are going to redesign a home page. This is the epic, the bigger plan, and then we have a user story as well that explains what we should be doing, what the users expect. As a website visitor, I want to clearly understand the company story and credibility so that I feel trust and confidence before exploring services or contacting. So this is a user story, and under user story comes a task. As I said, your task should be very well structured. It should have a clear title, a very clear one. It needs to have task goals. What task goal is basically exact task goals informs you and PM or client what exactly to expect from it. And acceptance criteria is often missed, but it is an important part of it. Acceptance criteria informs what makes this task approved so that you should move it to done. And this is an original estimate, 6 hours it would take designer 6 hours, let's say, to create a section. And here the epic is attached. We have defined the priority. So this is how you create a task and attach it to the epic. You, as I said, the bigger part is epic. Then comes the user story, and under user story, we have a task. So this is the task to create a section on a home page. So let me get back to presentation. Okay. I want the presentation. Okay. So managing the whole workflow isn't stressful at all. You can ask Subhan. Here he is. He's just 28. He's been managing workflow for for his team for quite some time. But as you see, it's not stressful at all. So, quick recap. Let's revise. Creating well-structured task is very important. Help yourself, your team member, and your team lead, your project manager. Be proactive. Uh, when you are proactive, you get less pinged about what you are working on, what's going on today, what's for tomorrow. Keep estimations real. If it takes you 6 hours to do something, make it seven. So you get a slight buffer, and if something unexpected comes, you get some time as well. Logging work on the same day is a very good practice that helps you and others track as well. They have certain charts in Jira that helps PM understand the whole flow as well. Grooming backlog is basically creating or populating the backlog with task on the start of a new project. That is very important before starting a project. Again, be proactive, take responsibility of your tasks, and be a good designer as well. Help your PMs. Thank you. That's it from my side. Any questions? Welcome.
Yeah, sure, sir. Now let's move towards the questions. Starting from a blank canvas often feels limitless. How do you balance creative freedom with the discipline of what I should say, converging on solutions quickly?
Yeah, I think the most haunting thing ever is the blank canvas. Once you see the blank canvas, you are afraid of what to do here. So when I think the the fear goes away when you know how to manage things, and that's where I would say the Jira comes into action. Once you have a clear goal, what you are going to be working on, then you are assigned a task, let's say, and it's time for you to move it into the progress. So at that time, you do not have to worry about uh, what should be the goal because you already know it. You have worked on it. You know, as a user, as a designer, you know about the user story or the bigger part of the plan. At that time, you just focus on a single task, and you have, as a designer, it's a natural thing to be creative, I would say.
That answers the question quite well. Now let's move towards the next question. Globally, many teams struggle with decision paralysis at the early stage of design. What frameworks, or I should say, principles can ensure consistent momentum from, let's say, ideation to delivery?
I think the confusion happens at a stage when you or the team isn't aligned at goals. Client is expecting something else. The team has decided something else. So there, that is the most confusing part. So as a designer, I've experienced that the PM plays a very important role. The project manager, the team lead plays a very important role in aligning the whole goal of the overall project. Once it's aligned, the members who are working on it, they already know what to expect from it. And as a design manager or leader, I would say it's your forte to take decisions at the right moment. Sometimes the decisions can be hard as well, but you have to do certain decisions. And as I said, if the things are organized, you exactly know if the outcome is correct, you should take a decision. But Again, I would repeat, the confusion happens when you are unclear about the goals of a certain thing.
Thank you, Aris. From blank canvas to done. It is a framework every designer here can learn from. Let's explore design as an ongoing dialogue. Over to you, Khadija.
Okay, so next we are joined by Mr. Umar Husnain, Assistant Director of Product Design at Easy Paisa Digital Bank, where he leads initiatives impacting millions of users. Umar's focus, Design System in Jira, highlights how structured systems power consistent, scalable design in high growth industries. Over to you, Mr. Umar.
Umar, can you please unmute your mic? I have made you a presenter.
Guys, before he start, I think you should check the chats as well. There are a few questions in the chats as well.
Khadija, can you please see the queries what we have in the chat?
Okay, yes, so we have a question for Mr. Haris by Ali Zubairi. Can a task go backwards in the Jira streams, or we move it to blog?
It reminds me of a very certain scenario when I was working on a project. This is the same thing I asked the project manager. Like, I have started something, it's in progress. Should I or can I move it to do? So the answer is yes, you can, but it depends exactly why do you need to do it. Mostly in a normal flow, once the task is in progress, it gets packed into to do. There is a major scope change, and in case of scope change, the best thing is to move the card into block. So normally, if you have to force, you can move the task backward in Jira Sprints, but that is not the right way. Yep. So the most I would say the meaningful thing is to move it into block, or you can have another column. You can add columns in Jira on the Kanban board as well, which can be as delay. So you move the card into the delay. So if there's any delay from the client side about some certain chain, some certain features, so that would really help. I hope that answers the question.
Khadija, you can proceed
Okay,
with your
yeah,
introduction.
okay, thank you. Okay, so next we are joined by Mr. Umar Hussain, Assistant Director of Product Design at Easy Paisa Digital Bank, where he leads initiatives impacting millions of users. Umar's focus, Design System in Jira, highlights how structured systems power consistent, scalable design in high growth industries. Over to you, Mr. Umar.
Hello, everyone. Just asking, is it my turn? Sorry, I had some technical issues.
Okay, so sir, you're like the next speaker after Mr. Umar, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Khadija, we can go with Sebastian. Sebastian, it's your turn. Let me introduce you. Uh, it's an honor to welcome Sebastian Gehr, co-founder and managing director of Footprint Intelligence in Munich. Sebastian has led design innovation across industries and brings a wealth of insights from interviewing over 100 global design leaders. With a background including design leadership at BMW, he brings a unique global lens on innovation, sustainability, and scale. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for the invitation. And sorry for any technical issues that occurred on my end, but I'm looking forward to the talk and sharing some insights with you. And we'll just go ahead and share my screen.
It's all right. We are honored to have you.
All right. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, now you already saw slide 3. But is the screen visible? Can you see a big head there in the middle?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much also, Hussein, who invited me for this. I'm really honored to speak to all of you, and also looking forward to any questions that you maybe have afterwards that maybe I can be of help with. To give you a bit of context, so what I would do is talk about the learnings I made interviewing just a lot of different design leaders in the last years, and collecting some insights as far as like how they approach design leadership, innovation leadership, product leadership. Just to kind of kick things off a little bit from my side, I worked a couple of years at BMW in the area of digital innovation and product design on in-car experiences, like on the left, for example, but then also mobile experiences and also future augmented reality concepts and solutions. I've been doing this for a couple of years. And what I did also was I started to podcast. I started to interview design leaders on the question of how they're driving impact within their roles, within their environments they're working at, and just started to record these conversations. And it ended up being around 100 episodes at this point. Not all of them actually have been published. What this actually turned out, I will share in a little bit. But at some point, actually, this turned more into a conference series. So we run this as a series of events in different cities at this point. We have one coming up in San Diego, for example, on the 18th of September, with Don Norman, for example, who's going to be there. But we also do this at other locations. But it's still rooted out of these podcast interviews I had. At some point, essentially, people ask me if I want to host an event. If I like to host an event, we get related to the podcast. I never did host an event back then. But anyways, we did do an event. Now it's more of an event series than it is a podcast. But essentially still revolving around the same topic. How can we be, as designers, be most impactful in the work that we are doing? I always think that design can have a lot of impact, and designers can have a lot of impact in their roles they have, but something is missing as far as really making it tangible and being viewed as that person in the company that drives impact. A lot of other people that are more on the forefront of that. So what I'm going to show you now, I hope this is audible. Please let me know. But essentially kind of summarizing a little bit also the idea, and I think what's going to become more and more important for creators working in product innovation. Am I still on? There's some window disappeared here on my side.
Yeah, you may proceed.
Okay, I'm still on. So I think what's going to become more and more important when we talk about the impact that creatives can have is actually connecting technology opportunity and actually the human side of innovation. I think this will become more and more important, as everyone has superpowers in terms of tools and technology and all of this. The variable of humans in terms of the process and having humans involved in the design and creative process, but then also designing for humans and understanding humans will become even more key than it is today. And this is also a key area or key focus of DDX, which the conference series is named after. And I'm just going to show you this video because I kind of summarize that topic of the human side of innovation.
The world of innovation is moving faster than ever. New
I think at the essence, right, if I'm thinking about the future of digital innovation, I think some of the things I learned talking to all of these people is that the role of people and the human side of innovation, I think, will become even more critical. I think there's a lot of buzz around new technologies and new tools and all of it. But in the end, I think a variable that doesn't go out of the picture is, in the end, these technologies are used by people, bought by people. In the end, the people are the decision makers and the users. And I think we should not forget that. And I think it becomes even more important as I think the playing ground gets more even as far as which technologies people have access to, right? If you think about technology access 50 years ago versus now, everyone has access to knowledge. Everyone can open ChatGPT. That's not the case like 50 or 100 years ago as far as how democratized information and technology is. And I think this democratization of technology is just an ongoing trend. So the role of people actually becomes more and more important. I think it doesn't go away. What I didn't want to only talk with people about innovation and doing this all my life. So what I did after BMW, I founded actually a company to also do innovation and not just talk about it. So I founded a company where we're leveraging AI for sustainability in company and corporate responsibility. And I'm just going to show you this little movie that kind of highlights what we're doing there.
Hey guys, it's Anna. Deadline in 7 days. 200 spreadsheets, 0 sleep, 3 cold coffees. Sustainability is fun, they said. Nobody wants to help. They hide when I say data. I need more data. I need more data. I need more data. How am I supposed to finish this monster report alone? Wait, footprint intelligence? Automated reporting and quantified decarbonization road? Is this real?
Yes, Anna, it's real. Just drop your bias here. Now let's add some recent things you did that helped the company. And map out your quantified decarbonization roadmap. Here you go, Anna.
No way! Did we just finish the whole thing? Let me check this. I did it! No more burnout pay. It's party time. More in the next story play. Hit follow and subscribe.
So essentially, it's a SaaS product I developed together with a team that helps organizations to get transparency around their sustainability efforts, and then also report that in an automatic way. Because right now, there are a lot of people that want to do things that are good, reduce emissions, making a company more sustainable, but there's very little time for that. So we're trying to leverage AI to get that time in organizations and the intelligence so they actually can do that. And what I'm doing now, essentially, there's a book that gets written about that exact topic. It's like all the learnings I made talking to all of these different people around digital innovation and also design leadership. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a couple of learnings with you that are really stood out to me talking to all of these people. And what kind of takeaways I had from these conversations. So one of the insights that was very kind of an eye-opener to me was that quote from Mike Wolson I talked to. He's a former chief creative officer from Frog Design. Some of you maybe know that company. He said, like, the world is more designable than ever. And it's actually true if you think about it, right? We complain all the time about the little ability we have to influence our environment, being the product we work on. And we are kind of so frustrated around maybe how we would like to change the product, and we're not happy with maybe the development team, or maybe not happy with the product manager. We're not happy with the sales team and what they are doing, and the marketing team does a horrible job. And like we love to specifically German people, because I'm a German, so we love to complain, right? So the fact though is that never in history we actually had as much opportunities to actually change things. If you think about Figma, if you think about different kind of digital tools, if you think about ChatGPT, if you're thinking about all the tools that are at our disposal, many of them to some degree are free. Yeah. We never had that much opportunity to influence our environment. Even if I think about the beginning of when I started out, how much things and tools have changed. Never we had the opportunity, that much knowledge, that much guidance, that much ability to design what's around us. And that can be anything. But if you look outside the window, if you look around you, you think that you will see that most of the things in your environment are actually random. It's just built over time, right? People made decision on top of decisions on top of decisions. Like it's all essentially building on each other. And I think oftentimes, we didn't have much control even, right? But now we actually have a lot of control. We can actually influence, we can prototype, we can visualize ideas and also take control of things. So that's actually, I think, very a good thing to keep in mind. Another topic I really liked was by Laura Silver. She was working at Amazon at the time, and then Bank of America, and she was talking about the topic of accessibility in the product team and the importance of bringing that up. If you think about accessibility, same for sustainability in some way, not just as something that you have to do, something that is kind of required to do in the process, but rethink this whole topic as an opportunity to innovate. There's a great example, it is a great example of Nike, where they are, for example, we're looking into how a person that only has one hand would tie their shoes. And when you start to think about these topics, you come obviously up with solutions for these people, but also you come up with complete new ways of thinking around your product, complete new ways to solve the problem that you're actually trying to solve. If you change the requirements, if you change some of the things that box you in your thinking, if you break out of that, you come across a lot of innovative ideas, maybe a new way to tie a shoe that is actually of benefit to everyone, not just people that are only have one hand. So I think, think about accessibility, think about sustainability, any kind of, so maybe perceived as a constraint in the very beginning of a design process, as an opportunity to really have a complete different view on your product and design process. I always say, if you really think there's no more innovation you can do around your product, and really then take the head of a different user, think kind of from a new perspective on what you're actually designing, and you will come up with complete new ideas. I think that's something to keep in mind. The other thing here is the topic of counterintuitivity. Talked to someone called Mario van der Molen. He's in Singapore. And I talked with him about his learnings of the fact that innovation is very often not linear, but it's actually counterintuitive. So he was, for example, talking about, many of you maybe heard about this example in the Second World War. I can't fully kind of map out that story again, but essentially there were planes coming back to the war grounds in the Second World War, and people were looking at the damage that happened in the planes when they landed. And they analyzed it, and they said, well, look at these areas of the plane we have the most damage. So these are the areas of the plane we need to make stronger. And actually, it turned out that the areas that you actually have to make strong are not the areas that are damaged. that you have to make the areas stronger that are not damaged. And the reason for that is because if planes are hit in these areas, that essentially means they're not coming back. Yeah, these are the planes that actually fall off the ground, fall off the sky, because if they hit there, actually they are falling apart, right? So essentially showcasing how counterintuitive innovation oftentimes is, right? You think about solving a problem, right, in one way. You think about like, oh, we have a problem A, and you jump straight to the solution, right? There's damage, we need to make it stronger. But it's actually the opposite. Yeah? So I think just one example out of many about the fact that you really need to break your linear thinking if you want to innovate. You need to step out of your direct conclusions that you make about how to solve a problem. And this is where innovation really lies. Another great framework is future casting. One of the people I talked to is called Phil Balaktis. And he was working at McKinsey at the time and developed, used future casting methodology very often. He created a great community and a great conference series also around this topic. And the responsibility towards visualizing what futures could be there, how things going to play out in the future between the probable, the preferable, the plausible, the possible. And this is a great way for people that are in the creative field to actually contribute to business problems and business challenges, because creative people can materialize ideas. So it's actually a responsibility to not just look at what is actual preferable, but also look at what's probable, plausible, or possible, to also highlight negative outcomes. But you really need to materialize them. And this is sort of called future casting, where you kind of leapfrogging into the future and really try to play out what the product will create in the long term and materialize these ideas. Because if you have a room full of people talking about an idea, the more complex the idea becomes, the more different the pictures everyone's minds will be as far as what that idea actually is, right? If I tell you about an elephant that wears a t-shirt driving on a small bike across a village, you all have a picture in your head, right? But every one of you have probably a different picture in your head. It kind of looks a little bit different, right? So, and this is a simple example, but the more complex you make the idea, the more different their visualizations in the minds become. The more different they are, the more you have a chance to actually align them. So what you want to do is you want to bring them together. You want to say, this is the vision, and it not has to be correct. It has to be a visualization of what that possible or preferable future is. But what you have with an image, a video, a prototype, you now have an opportunity to bring everyone together and give comments. This is what we mean. You know, we can align you can align the future idea with many people, and that's so important for creatives to understand the big impact they can have on it. I was working at BMW for a while, and then I had one of my colleagues. He was an amazing artist also, and I remember many times we had meetings. All of these people talked about the future idea, and he was scribbling it while the meeting happened. And I always say, like, who owns the pen is sort of the silent leader of a conversation. You know, it's not the people that talk the most, but actually the people that can visualize and draw what could be there. Because that way you can bring in your own ideas, but it's also, you have the superpower to bring people together. Yeah, and this is oftentimes overlooked. We don't, as creators, we don't like to look ourselves as artists very often. Yeah? But the art of visualization is actually, you know, it's such a big skill. And obviously this gets heavily democratized with AI at the moment, which is, I think, a great thing, because more and more people can visualize. But visualize in the right way, the ability to facilitate and leverage and put strategic thinking on top, it's of course like a different level of skill set, right? Now, I give you one other story here. Shiva Jaini I talked to, he was a designer at YouTube, and he was working on YouTube at the time where you also could pitch ideas for new ideas at Google, and you can get a budget and maybe some resources for it. So we're working at YouTube. We saw obviously all the kids and parents using YouTube, and parents giving their tablet to kids to get entertainment. But YouTube is not designed for kids. The content is not. The button sizes are certainly not. It's not an experience designed for kids. So he essentially created a little video of an idea of something that ended up becoming YouTube Kids, one of the most popular apps in the entertainment sector. And it all started just with a prototype, with a visualization. And he recorded it, and he gave it to some people to kind of try it out, to some parents. It went viral within Google, and they got budget, and they just built a product. But it all started with someone there to visualize an idea and materialize what a future could be. And I think I just want to highlight that because it just shows like how much power there is. I'll give you another example. Red Lovelady I talked to. He's a entrepreneur from San Francisco, and he had this idea of gaming devices, and they're not being really premium. And essentially, he tried to get funding for it. But nowadays, with prototyping, 3D printing, and everything, you can do a lot of things on your own. So he really started to visualize and build these prototypes of how a high-end gaming brand would be like, and kind of complete new category, essentially. Because at the time, most of the gaming products were focusing on low quality, and he thought like that needs to be something that is also aspiring for gamers, because gamers are kind of, this is a very competitive field, so there needs to be something that is aspiring. So he developed this brand called Astro, which later on got bought by, I think it was Logitech, for multiple millions, and became like a really big brand. And it all started with his drive to take things forward, materialize what the future could be, and trust the process, and you can see what the outcome will be. So I think the idea of how much power there is if you materialize futures and you take it into an entrepreneurial way, or with the story I showed before, in a corporate, and working at a company or agency or whatever, taking an idea forward, dare to visualize, dare to dream it forward, can working on your own stuff or within a company. And I think the power that all of you have, if you push things forward. This can go even further towards like science and the importance and responsibility of actually doing it. You maybe heard of a topic of called brain interfaces. I talked to Afshime. He's also in San Francisco. He essentially worked with Neuralink, which is a company of Elon Musk working on brain interfaces. And he did a lot of interviews and studies working directly with these scientists to imagine what such a future robot and future experience might look like, and visualize the patient's journey, visualize interaction principles. Well, like, how would you interact with a brain interface? What would it mean? Would you immerse yourself and dream it forward, but also grow a belief, because it becomes tangible. It's such an abstract topic, right? You grow a belief by people can see it, people can believe it, right? So it motivates people. When I work at BMW, in the car industry, you do a lot of show cars that are not even there yet, but they show what a car could be like in 10 years, 5 years. What happens is it grows belief. It puts people that are working on different things together on one shared mission. There's also something about responsibility here, because you should understand these new technologies, and scientists should understand what are the consequences of working on such technologies, and what would it mean for people. So I think there's also an important responsibility component of working on new technologies. And I try to map it out in these 4 categories. Essentially, that's a little bit how I see it. When you think about the impact that you can work as a designer, it kind of clusters into you can, I guess, cluster it in different ways. I love to cluster it into 4 categories. How do you find impact in the work that you are doing? And impact can mean many things. You can drive impact for people in society by making people's life better to the products and services that you develop. You can also find impact in the form of business and growth, helping a company to generate a lot of users. This is another form of impact, generating jobs by helping a company to become more successful. Then there's a second component, science and technology, what I also talked about, the responsibility aspect of working with technology and working on accessibility of new technologies, working on consequences of new technologies, and the importance of visualizing and materializing futures. But at the same time also, you can use your work to potentially help the planet, society, and work on sustainability, bringing that into the design process as well, and finding ways for that. So different forms of impact, I think, is important for people to understand the impact they can have, working in the design field. Just going to leave you with that quote by Robert Fabricant, who said, "Design is a privilege." It's also a great quote that I learned from him. And essentially, if you think about it, what I just said about who owns the pen, owns the story, and owns the part of the innovation process, is a privilege to be in that room, be in working on products, working on innovation. You just think about even the people around you. How many people are users and how many people are creators? If you are here in this room, you all work on products and innovations. So you are a creator. You're part of the creative process. But if I think about my family, if I think about my friends, most people, and even myself, I'm most of the time a user, right, of technology, but not really a creator. Meaning that it's a privilege to be in that field and actually be one of the few humans that actually shapes how technology works. Just keep that in mind, how much of a privilege that is, and how much responsibility there is as well. Couple of thoughts as far as like things I learned talking to different people. Happy to connect if you like to get in touch as far as sharing more learnings. You can reach me on LinkedIn, for example. And thank you so much for the attention.
Okay, moving forward with the Q&A session.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Okay, so looking back at your BMW experience, where design intersects with engineering and scale, what lessons do you think the software design industry still hasn't learned from the industries like automotives?
One of the things that people underestimate about automotive is the complexity in the interaction, right? So, people oftentimes think about automotive design as, there is a screen in the car that you're interacting with. But the reality is actually, it's very complex. You have a mobile app that has to work with the car. Then in the car, the person is driving and has to interact with the device. And then it's not the person not driving all the time. Sometimes the person's driving, sometimes not. So the ergonomics of interaction design is just like extremely complex in automotive. And I think a lot of people kind of oversee that as far as like how much can be also learned there as far as how things are, how things are working. And I think like if you work on an app, you don't really have to think about a lot of these things, right? There's one thing I love to share with people is that one thing we did I did on a couple of projects is to design in the car, or ideate being in the car. So, and then what it does is like you get completely different ideas being in the car, working on a concept, like a UX UI concept, then like being on your screen, have Figma open and trying to design there. It's completely different. So when people work on a hospital app, as an example, I always tell people, why not spending like one day of your design process in the hospital? Like design in the hospital. You're gonna get complete different ideas than being on your screen, looking at Figma and trying to design the hospital app sitting in an office, right? But if you're in the hospital with your laptop, trying to design it there, I think you get complete different ideas. And I think like that immersion as far as the innovation, not being away. If you work on a shopping app, spend time in the shop, right? You get different ideas. Try to ideate in the environment. That's what I would take as a takeaway from automotive. In automotive, you have to do it just because of the complexity with screens and like you have different layers. You have sound, you have scent, you have haptics. So this is just very complex interaction ergonomics.
Perfect. So I have a question for you, Sebastian. Since you've been interviewing designers all around the world, right? So what was the common attribute that you saw in them, and sort of try to evolve yourself with that as well? So I mean, what were like? How were you when you were again talking to them? So how did you evolve yourself while talking to them? What were the key attributes that you took from them and then implemented and actually saw um, and that transformation of your work, or maybe just see the benefit of it?
Yeah, one of the there's a sad and a good side of the story I'd like to share. So one thing I learned is that it's so much about the soft skills. A lot of people always talk about getting better with the tools. Some of the designers I even work with, they sometimes ask me, hey, I'm doing all of these different things, I'm not sure if I'm good enough in Figma to be like a senior product designer. It's like, that's not really the point in the future, I think, to be like the best person at making the fastest radiuses. It's really what I learned. Kevin Bethune, you should look him up. He wrote a book, Reimagine Design. There's some many other great. Hartmut Esslinger, the founder of Frog, he wrote a lot of good stuff about this topic too. The importance of language. So the ability, when I talk to a lot of these design leaders, when they came to a company and taking over a team of 5,000 people sometimes, or like maybe 100, or maybe sometimes 10, is what they told me is that it was all about listening. And in the beginning, it's like they didn't like do much. Like they said, like, I'm gonna listen and really understand like what's going on here. And then I'm starting to make some changes or propose stuff. But always with the ability to what you create as a designer, to frame it in the right way to the opposite, to the environment. So he was listening in these board meetings, like, what is the CEO talking about? Okay, they talk about supply chain issues and okay. Well, that may influence how you position design in a company, right? Like what do you talk as a design team about? You talk about different problems that nobody else in our company cares about, or you're talking about the problems that everyone cares about? What language do they use? What do they care about? Oh, they care about that we really generate a lot of new users. That seems to be the biggest problem at the moment. It's actually not about the conversion or something like that. It's all about new lead generation. Okay, so I'm now going to talk about how our design is helping the company to generate more leads, right? And now all of a sudden, wow, like everyone loves to work with the design team because they're helping with the problem. And what some of the people told me is like, if they do it oftentimes, the role and the maturity of what design has been seen in an organization is changing. This is oftentimes when people complain about, well, nobody cares about design in this organization. And I've been in positions where I also maybe sometimes said it's like nobody cares about like that. Well, it's really up to ourselves. I say we can complain all day, but in the end, it's for our responsibility to change that. And it starts with what language you're using. And I think language, soft skills, I think designers can learn a lot from salespeople. Because the reality is, designers are not very much trained to communicate with words. because we have our hands, right? We're drawing and we're visualizing and so on. So we communicate that way. Look at this idea, right? I mean, we can talk, but we can't talk as good as a salesperson. The salesperson can't visualize anything. All he has is words, right? So these people, they focus on communication, right? And frame things in the right way. And I think designers can learn a lot from salespeople. If you bring visualization skills and the ability to sell and communicate together, that's super powerful, so that would be my learning. And salespeople know that with language, it's all about mirroring and kind of also connecting to an audience, right? For example, a good salesperson would automatically take on the same body language than the person that one talking to, because people love to talk to people. They have similar identifications or similar values or behave in a similar way. It creates familiarity. People love familiarity, feels familiar, and they create trust. And the problem with creatives sometimes, or designers also in a company, we don't like to be like other people. we identify with being a designer, and we love to be a little bit different, but it also harms us as far as how maybe we are seen in a company, as far as also what impact we can contribute. I don't know if that makes any sense, or if that was helpful.
No, it does. It of course does. So when I was watching your presentation, you were when you mentioned your company, it's more of you are working on the carbon footprinting, and that's a global problem, and I think that's very interesting. Since it's a global problem, right? So it comes out with a big challenge of diversity as well. So how do you actually target the audience? Because with diversity there comes a lot of cultures that you need to actually target first, and then you have to customize the solution for them so that they can understand first, and then they come up to you for the solution. So
Oh,
how would that be challenging? Sorry to cut you.
okay, I'm very sorry to cut you short, but we're running out of time and we have to introduce our next speaker. So if we can just move forward with it, that would be a really kind request.
Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to also answer this question in digital. Yeah,
Sure,
Asad.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
let's connect
Yeah,
online.
sure.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Um, Thank you so much, Sebastian, for joining us. It's really an honor uh, you to be there. And if I can talk about the DDX thing, so I just want to say that how much I admire the DDX events globally. And every time I see them, they feel full of energy and real connection and inspirations as well. So it's just not another conference, it feels like a movement that brings people together from around the world. Huge credits to Sebastian for making this happen, and it's inspiring us.
There's a
One more
great
thing,
team behind it,
yeah,
so that makes it happen. But thank
thank
you,
you.
Hassan.
Thank you. And one more thing, if anyone wanna get the ticket globally events of DDX from Atlassian Community Islamabad, will giving 10% discounts for the tickets of DDX events as well. Thank you, Sebastian. Over to you, Khatija.
Okay, thank you so much for your global insight. Next, we're moving forward to our next speaker, Mr. Omar Husnain, Assistant Director of Product Design at Easy Pesa Digital Bank, where he leads initiatives impacting millions of users. Omar's focus, design system and Jira, highlights how structured systems power consistent, scalable design in high growth industries. Mr. Omar Husnain, thank you.
Hello.
Finally, we have Umar.
Yeah. Uh, Today I will be talking about design system and Jira, and the insights I will be having from is the actual insights I have at Easy Pesa. So the story starts from the day of my joining, And the day I joined, I asked them, "Do we have a design system?" And I was told that yes, we have a full-fledged design system. And I told them, "Yeah, sure, let me have a look at it." So I looked at a design library. This that there was a lot of things they have already implemented. A very good design library. They got it implemented from an agency. But the problem, what was the problem? The problem was this. There was the screens in the Figma, and then there were the screen in the implementation. There was a huge gap. Some have spacing inconsistencies, some has roundness, the typography. There were a lot of inconsistencies. And these are the inconsistencies I have seen from other design fellows, from the other organizations, and the designers I have met from my circle. Everyone is talking about what we implement, what we design in Figma is never get implemented properly, and there are always the challenges. Why can't developers make it the way we design it in Figma? And we designers talk a lot about that. We have the AI is generating the code. We have Figma dev mode. Figma is generating the code. But still, why can't dev implement it properly? So this is the talk of the tone of the talk of the designers. We talk a lot about this. But have have we ever listened to developers? What they say? Whenever we design a feature, it goes to the PM from a cycle and it's get developed. When we're doing the design audit, we always get the feedback that the functionality is developed. When all the functionality is developed, but we still see a lot of these kind of issues, there can be many type of implementation issues. So where's the gap? And in my experience at Easy Pesa, I have this feedback from the higher management. Occasionally, I am getting this. This is the feedback. Your designs look good on Figma, but not in the real implementation. What's the problem? You have to sort it out. You have to sort it out. And this is the feedback I am getting a lot from more of the higher management people who don't have that much understanding of design, but they are in the managerial positions. They are the product, they are the business people, they are the marketing people. So my question is, where's the gap? Have we ever thought how developers perceive our designs, how design handoff is shared with them? We have the PMs, we have many stakeholders, we give the designs to the PM is delivering that to the designers, and then we have a very fully fledged design flows, arrows, a lot of things in the Figma, and we are going to have some of the meetings. But have we thought that how they actually perceive the designs? What are the challenges? Who's responsible? There's always a blame game. Tech is responsible, product is responsible, design is responsible, QA is responsible. We just throw the responsibility to each other. And then after some time, there was a solution that let's make a design library, design system that's a definition. Everyone has their own definition. So there's a design tokens, atoms, molecules, components, a lot of things. But practicality is very different. How is your design system working within the organization? What are the stakeholders? So in my experience at an Easy Pesa, that there was a design library. It wasn't a design system. It was developed by a third-party agency. They took all the components from Easy Pesa app, just make them a library in the Figma, and that's our design library. And to our surprise, we were using SF Pro and they were using Inter. So there was a huge difference. Like design is using SF Pro font and dev is using Inter. Design is using vertical trim. They are not using that. So there were a lot of challenges. Although we have a design library, and I told them that this is not a design system. That's the wrong definition. Design system is something different. A component has a journey. We designers measure a lot of journeys from the users, like this is the user journey, this is the service map, this is the service blueprint. We talk a lot about those journeys. Our focus is a lot of on those journeys. That's a good thing to have. But have we ever thought, we dig deep, that what's the component journey, how a component is designed, delivered, QA'd, go to build live, and how user perceive that. There's a complete process in that component journey. And when we talk about designers, uh, I had meetings with senior dev managers, like how you guys are doing that. So practicality, they had the Jira, but they had different squads. Every squad developers, they don't have communication within sub squads. So dev are lacking the communication, although they are getting the design hands off. Every squad has their own tool and technologies, their own set of rules. There, let's say we have the lending squad. Their their developers were very good. The results were very good. But from another squad, from the core, the results are not like that. Why? The developers from lending department, lending squad, has a good implementation, but the code doesn't have. So this was the output, like a proper definition of a design system. We were focusing a lot on the design guidelines, the pattern library, the design library, let's say the identity elements, component interactions, each and everything is designed. If we need to revamp this, we need to that was the thinking, we need to optimize this library. But no one was thinking about the tool and resources. What are the tools? What are the other resources? What are the major stakeholder of that library? What is the handover process? Like it goes to design, to PM, to delivery manager, and from the delivery to the tech. There was communication issue. There was a lot of other issues, but the actual thing was a lack of tools and resources to make it a proper design system, and the wrong definition of library and a design system. So what we did was that we sat with the development, uh, implemented that library, and this library has been implemented recently by the tech department. And now after the implementation, we use Jira for the communication, and we have every states. Can you guys listen me?
Yes, no, we can. Or you are audible.
Yeah, so just give me a minute. Yes. So when the tool and resources, one of the key element was the collaboration and communication, how to enhance collaboration and communication with the, and for that purpose, we utilize the Jira, and with the utilization of Jira, although that's a very deep case study I will be working on, but here I'm just give the preview of the basic functionalities and the strategy we did. And with the addition of Jira and measuring every component state in the Jira, assigning to the relative developers, and a utilization of design library, now the inconsistency has been reduced from, I can say, 80% to 20%. So we have very less consistencies, and we were thinking of a dark mode. It was a challenge. It will take almost 6 to 8 months to implement a dark mode with proper functionality. But now, with the conversion of a design library, design dark mode, that's not even a problem anymore. So that was the discussion about how Jira can be used for the better design optimization and for the better design dev handover. Hussein, your mic is off.
Yeah.
Audible now? Hello?
I reckon we are audible now. Yeah.
Yes, Hussain, you're audible.
Sarumar, I have a question for you, and that is that at a global scale, design systems need to serve hundreds of teams. What strategies have you seen to keep systems
Let
relevant?
me rejoin. I believe there's some mic issue. I can't hear anything.
But this is not your issue, it's a easy paisa issue. You are disrespecting the value of easy paisa.
Umar, are we audible now?
Yes, you guys are, but I don't think so. He's in the call.
I think it's a 404 error from easy paisa.
I reckon we should proceed with Sir Usman Fiaz. So, audience, our next speaker is Usman Fiaz, entrepreneur, product designer, Y Combinator alumni, and community builder at Design Peeps. Usman champions the idea of design as a conversation, and that itself is his topic. And it is that where design is not just a deliverable, but an ongoing dialogue between teams, stakeholders, and users. The stage is over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys can hear me clearly, loud and clear.
Yep.
It's good? Oh, thank you.
Yes,
How is
sir.
everyone doing?
Great.
I think it's the second hour about to end, and kudos to everyone's patience as they're still here.
Yeah.
People are actually listening or they've left. Can you guys just type your titles maybe in the chat if you just start with some interaction before, so that we know that we are talking to people, not the walls. Is there any chat option here? Yeah, there's. Founding product designer at Curate Capital. Lovely. We will do it for one more minute, and then we can just jump into the event. But good event overall. Kudos to Hussein and Khatija, everyone involved. Lots of appreciation for the team organizing it. We need more of it in Pakistan, and we need to represent Pakistan on the global stage. Product designer at EasyPesa. Oh, is there some collaboration with EasyPesa? There are so many people from EasyPesa. Or you gonna EasyPesa them after the event? Khatija is like, don't forget me to EasyPesa.
Probably the next sponsor.
Good strategy then. Product designer, of course I know about you. Product host, a podcast host and author in the making. Oh, lovely. What book are you writing, Asad?
So currently I'm writing, it's called See the Unseen.
See
And
the Unseen.
Yeah. So it's more of
Nice.
like a single situation that has multiple perspectives. It could be this event that you will be currently having the perspective of, now I have a talk. First, I need to get the conversation going with the audience so that they are active. And then you can like start talking so that they are active and they listen and they receive what you have to offer. The audience perspective is maybe who the ones who are patient is like we have got a lot of value, and those who are impatient they probably left the chat. So it's like one situation, multiple perspectives. So yeah, I have like a lot of real life situations, daily situations, and it is covered through multiple perspectives.
Lovely. But I think that's a good filter to have people who are actually here for the value, and that shows that they care for themselves, that they want to grow and they want to learn something new. And I really hope that I and everyone involved here are able to deliver that. And we'll ignore the last message whoever sent that. We'll just ignore that. We'll not read that out loud. But yeah, sure, anytime. I mean, Hussein knows that Design Peeps, me, and all my other companies are always available for any support that he may need at any point. But whoever sent that message is, I thought you were friends, but no, not anymore. So yeah, just starting from, sorry.
It's not planned.
If you say so. I will not share the screen actually. I just really want to have a conversation with the designer, more of a heart to heart, on design as a conversation. And maybe I can start where Sebastian left. Design is a privilege. And I hope all of us do realize that it is a privilege, because I strongly believe that design is a political language. because we choose to decide who is going to be part of what we are making and who is going to be excluded, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. A lot of time, there's one common thing I cannot say enough, and I cannot, all of us have been saying, design. We all know the design should be good, right? We all know that you should do the research, it should be accessible, it should be inclusive. But if you just ask how many people have actually made products that are actually accessible to everyone? And when we say design is a conversation, it's not right now we're in an era, we're in a agentic era where we have interfaces like ChatGPT, we're disrupting the whole ecosystem. And if we're still making design static websites which are a monologue, then we are still stuck in 2010s era, or maybe earlier than that. When we say design is a conversation, it's more of a dialogue than a monologue. When a user land on it, are you just saying a lot about yourself, or you're also talking to the user, or you're guiding to the user step by step or not? So if I just ask people, and if you guys can tell, because we all know the design should be done well, design should be accessible, design should be all those fancy, schemancy, all those adjectives, but how many of us do really get into these things? And can anyone here proudly say that I designed a product which was fully accessible, which will meet the WCAG criteria, even 2 point something, or even may not 2.2 or something like that, even maybe not 3.1, or which is 3.2 is the latest maybe. Add more comments so that the last comment should go up. Yeah, to stakeholder, yes, to users, no. Design is accessible for the users. I often have something, so you design for the stakeholders, not for the users. Can we have a couple of more comments before the Umar comment goes up and nobody can see that? But do you guys know 1 in 6 people globally live with some sort of disability? And which is a good big number, and yet less than 3% of the website globally and the apps globally meet the basic accessibility standards. So we all say our design is guiding our design. We're not making our users think enough. There's a clear-cut direction to designer working with me and my team is, if somebody has to think at any point, what should I do? We have failed. And when they start explaining, I sometimes jokingly say, I'm not going to ship you with the product. Product is going to be on its own. So it should cover all the aspects, and it must self-advocate whatever it is supposed to do. And as I said, we always have this conversation. But why is that still less than 3% of the website meet the basic criteria? We're not even talking about the triple A, and we're just talking about the single A, or the WCAG. Why do you guys think, regardless of despite of so many conversations, हम में से जो भी I hope it's okay if we do it bilingual. Hussein, is it okay? Hussein, is it
Sorry.
okay if we do bilingual?
Sorry?
Is it okay if I do it bilingual? If I just add Urdu and Punjabi somewhere?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
It's up to
Yeah,
you.
perfect. Yeah, I think English sometimes makes us sleep. Feeling नहीं आती ना English में. But yeah, so just we always, whenever we make a LinkedIn post, we say you must not ignore user, you must talk with the users. I bet pull up, even including myself, pull up our conversations or the LinkedIn posts, it will be full of these things. But when we are designing, where these thoughts are, why don't we design keeping these things in mind? And as Sebastian said, design is a privilege. It is. We decide who gets to participate in society, because everything is designed. Even just yesterday, United States Department created a new department, National Design Center. They hired a co-founder of Airbnb to redesign the whole American government websites and everyone, because now they're making America led by design. Because without design, there's no communication. Design is a bridge between a product, between a business and the user. So designers have that power. Do we realize that? Do we realize that we have the power to decide who gets to participate and who does not? We are the actual politician. Do you guys know that? Salvador, तो हम बैठे हैं यहाँ पे. But every interface that we design sometimes is gatekeeping some people out of it and is including some people. Do we really think, well, a lot of time we think about people we are including? I think we should start thinking who is being excluded out of it, because every flow reacts who was heard and who was not. Are we really being mindful of it? No, it's a weekend. It's about to start. I'm sorry if I'm going to put you a lot of guilt and existential crisis. Feel free to reach out to me and bash me on, but bash me in person. Say good things on LinkedIn about the event, and they're really doing a lot of efforts, and we really need to put forward the good image of the Pakistan. But when we talk about these making design inclusive, making design accessible, first thing pops in our mind is, yeah, we did the user research. Yeah, we spoke to the user. I think user research falls short because users, because when we are doing the user research, it's very subjective. It's not from the collaborative point of view. It maintains a power balance. We choose which questions we are going to ask, and we put user in a very ideal condition. We put user in a very ideal condition. Let's say if we are designing an app for people in Africa who are going to use in the sunlight, we must be careful of the brightness and contrast ratio. But when we are going to do the user research, we'll ask them to come to our office and sit under the AC and with the best light possible and use that. Because when a user is using an app, the subconscious memory is being triggered. When you are asking someone to review it, then you're triggering the conscious memory. Then he or she is thinking about the each step. But when actually, whenever you open up Food Panda, are you guys thinking where is the menu? Okay, I click on the menu. Okay, there's a fast food. This, you just know, your subconscious knows. A good design is when it complements someone's ecosystem, not when it requires someone to adopt it. You fail when you ask someone to adopt your product. You champion it when it's part of their ecosystem, when it's just part of their habits, when they don't have to learn it, because the learning curve is very difficult. When you ask someone to learn a feature, then it gets very tricky. It's very difficult. It's same like you really want to make your product fancy chamancy, but if it's making you, so like if you're putting the delete button in very fancy way that you are gonna have to do a certain pattern to delete a thing, it may look cool, but do they know about it? And that's the point of that's the point where user research falls short, is because we define the problem and the user are just reacting to it. We say this is a problem, who we are. User are the one facing the problem. Do you know better than them? Do you think you know better than the people in the Africa, how the environment is like there? What kind of mental state they are in when they're using the product? So why we are making them as a just to react on product, and why we are not making them collaborate? Why design is not a conversation? Why it's not a dialogue? Why it's a monologue? So, a very simple example if I give is a couple of years ago, there was this fintech app in India for rural women in India. They did an extensive research. They figured out they have to add bilingual sport. They added Hindi. They figured out there was another thing. They did the user interviews. They figured out the women in rural areas, they don't have their own phone, so maybe they can just use their partner phone. They built simple flows, voice login, Hindi support, clean UX, but still the adoption was very low. You know why? Because they didn't ask them what your actually problem. They asked them, do you own your phone? Yes or no? No. Which is your primary access to the phone? My husband, my father, my brother. But they don't ask how is the experience. They just make them react to the problem that they were defining from the privileged rooms, sitting in privileged rooms. So when they launched it, the adoption was very low. Reason being because there was no added safe space. Women were not comfortable sharing their financial data with their partners. Because when you install an app, they didn't want their partner to just open the app and see what their balance is, what their bank accounts is. when they went and asked them, when they made them the co-creator, not the reaction, not to give the reaction, when they made them the co-creator and asked them why you're not using it, then they start telling. They designed dual login for shared devices. So when you're logging in front of your partner, you can uh, log in from a different account, or even if the same device is being used by different people, and so they can have their own individual login. And the adoption was 3 to 5 times higher, because now they felt that like the app is designed for them, by them. There's another app that we're working on is an emotional well-being of a Gen Z. We kept working on for a good 1 year, and before we realized that it should be by the youth, and now that it's a by the youth for the youth. It's a Simply Human. It's called Simply Human. We are designing it with the users, with the youth. They are telling what feature they need. They are telling what their problems are, because we designers are more biased than anyone, because we observe a lot, we build our perspective, and there's a concept in psychology that the limit of your language is the limit of your reality, which जावेद अख्तर साहब ट्रांसलेट्स इट टू, जब आपके पास अल्फाज कम होते हैं तो आप ख्वाब बहुत छोटे देखते हैं, क्योंकि आपको ख्वाब देखने के लिए ज़रूरी है कि आपके पास अल्फाज हो. So our limit of language is the limit of reality. हम design whatever who we are, हमारे एक certain knowledge है, which limits our perspective, which limit our horizon. When we think from that, it's the same bias that we are projecting to the other. And we say that inclusion and accessibility is the edge cases. It's not. 1.3 billion users have some sort of access or disability. And when we say disability, that does not include ADHD. That does not include a lot of other, be it short focus, epilepsy is not included as but it affects the digital experience of a user. So it's not an edge case, it's our myth. And we say inclusive design is a good UX. No, good UX does not mean emotional safety, culture fit, and trust. That's separate. We say we ran tests and we are done. Testing does not mean sharing authorship and making them the co-creator. We need to maybe bust these myths, and we really need to shift our roles from designer to facilitator. We need more people with the problem on the table. We designer can have the power to choose who is going to be the table. So next time we sit on a table, we ask ourselves who is not on the table before we ask who is on the table, who is missing from it. Is the people facing the problem is included, is part of the conversation, or we are just going to have on our luxury and we are going to create a problem and we are ask them to adopt that problem. So if I can leave you guys with anything today is your new job description, which is to create the space which compensate co-creator, share credit, share authorship, open spaces for people. That's your job. Become a facilitator. You're a good designer when you're a good facilitator. When you're giving platform to a people's voice. You don't need to be expert in their lives. They already are. Don't stress over understanding a problem. Let them help you understand it. Don't think that you are a champion of it if you're not directly impacted by the problem you're creating the product for. Let them understand. And if you are not intentionally including, you're almost certainly unintentionally excluding. Because co-creation is not a feature, it's a commitment. It's how we build products with people, not for them. How are you guys?
Asad, I guess you have a question. You may proceed with it.
Perfect. So उस्मान, like दो बहुत छोटे छोटे सवाल हैं मेरे, ठीक है. एक सवाल तो ये कि since you are building a product for Gen Z, or like through all your talk you emphasizes on your user are sort of your partners, right? They're helping you understand their problem, or you give them space to actually they help them with the solution as well. That's great. But when you interview all those Gen Zs, I assume के 100 अलग अलग opinions आते होंगे, right? So how do you actually categorize them in a way कि सोल्यूशन को एक्चुअली एक डायरेक्शन मिले. दैट्स वन क्वेश्चन. और जो दूसरा एक छोटा सा कैवियट है सॉर्ट ऑफ, वो इन अ सेंस के अनलेस यू own your own venture, okay? When you are a designer in a certain team, for example, you have a manager, and you have like co-founders controlling you, and all that stuff. So वहाँ पे how can you define a designer's power? Because वहाँ पे ना उसकी like काफ़ी ज़्यादा limitations भी होती हैं. Even if I wanted to talk to users, sit with them, understand their pain points, help them understand what I want to understand, I still can't do it because of the time constraints, because of maybe the caveats of my managers or probably the stakeholders, which often comes with few limitations. So in दोनों चीज़ों को like how do you tackle, या how do you advise to tackle?
Thank you, Asad. Answering your first question, how do we prioritize? Of course, you have business goals. Of course, you have to see the data, how many people do really need it, and if it's really a problem to solve. And not every problem is business worthy. Not every problem is worth solving. Not every problem needs your attention right now. You do need to have you have a vision, and you see what aligns with your vision and what's not. And it's important to decide what you're not gonna do than what you're gonna do. That then defines the value what you're gonna do. So that's one, how you can align with your business, and the data can help you how important it is. If sometimes you may have to mold your business decision according to the user's need, if enough users are asking for it, because you're not going to use your product at the end of the day if you really want to make money out of it. So you have to align both things together, and that might be helpful with the data, of course. And the second question is was about the time constraint. Design Peeps, which I am CEO of, is a service agency. We do have our own products. Simply Human is one of them, but Design Peeps is a service agency. Sometimes you have to make it clear. Like very often, I say to client when I feel that they are pushing their narrative, and I have very honest conversation with them. Do you want me to design for you or for your users? If you want me to design for you, I will do it. And it will be on paper that I will not take the responsibility of the results. If you think you know better, I will trust you. And then you will own the results. If you want me to own the results, then let me do it my way. This is how it should be done. Yeah, we can always, it has to be done in the sweet spot where you don't come off proudy and rude. But you have to have sometimes this honest conversation, because if you think you know this problem well, then I will just act as a messenger between you and the user. I will convey what you are saying, and we will wait how they respond. But if you want me to lead the business and want me to generate sales, make conversions, and reduce the churn rate, increase the session time, increase the DAO, MAO, and all those metrics, then let me do it my way. And that must be backed by the data. Look, this is what you are saying, and this is what the data is saying. It's not my personal gut feeling is. This is the data, what data is saying. Data is saying that Gen Z, this is a problem with the communities as well. You can't, why book clubs don't succeed? बिकॉज वो हम अपने दिमाग से सोच रहे होते हैं कि बुक क्लब है तो लोगों को एक किताब बता देते हैं, वो आके पढ़ेंगे एक दिन. पीपल रीडिंग बुक डोंट वांट टू स्टिक. बुक क्लब वो नहीं करना चाहते. हैव यू आस्क्ड देम व्हाट दे वांट फ्रॉम अ बुक क्लब? सो अगर आप अपने आप को खुश करने के लिए एक किताब के डिस्कशन रखना चाहते हैं, तो आपको क्लियर होना चाहिए कि अब मेरी खुशी के लिए. आप लोगों के लिए करना चाहते हैं, तो लोगों को ये नहीं चाहिए. उनको चाहिए कि मैं बुक लोन लेंड कर सकूं, आई कैन बाय लोन, मतलब किसी रेंट पे ले सकूं, कोई सजेशन ले सकूं, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. जस्ट लाइक नेटफ्लिक्स का ग्रुप बनाया है क्योंकि मुझे अच्छा लगता है बाकियों के साथ मूवीज देखना, तो ये कम्युनिटी सब मूवीज साथ देखेंगे. नो, पीपल जस्ट वांट टू हैव वॉच मूवीज एट देयर कंफर्ट. They just want to have a group where they can ask for recommendation and the reviews. That's it, and discuss the movie after they watch it. So अगर उनके लिए बना रहे हैं या अपने लिए बना रहे हैं, that's a decision.
Thank you so much, Usman. Thank you all for joining us today. Our speakers, Asad, Sebastian, Haris, Usman, and Umar, shared insights that go beyond tools. They highlighted how design drives collaboration and alignment and impact. From Figma workflow to design systems and global leadership perspectives, the key takeaway is clear. Design is a strategic conversation, not just a creative task. Your engagement today through questions and interactions show the strength of this community. Carry forward these insights, experiment boldly, and continue building smarter and user-centric solutions. Over to you, Hashim. Okay, so events like these are starting point, not endpoints. The value comes when you implement these learnings, challenge silos, and foster collaboration across teams. A big thank you to Atlassian for enabling this platform, to our speakers for sharing world-class expertise. Most importantly, thank you to the Islamabad design community for your presence, curiosity, and energy. Let's continue these conversation and apply these strategies and keep pushing the impactful human-centered design. Until next time, stay innovative, stay collaborative, and stay inspired. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is your host Khadija with my co-moderator Hashim and
Khadija
Hussein
even
who
forgot
has
her name by the end of it. Thank you, Khadija, for doing all that.
We have one edit thing I would like to add, and
yeah.
that is that we are trying our best to arrange the next event on site. So we will feel great if you will join our group. I have just, in fact, Hussein has just shared the link in the group. So once again, thank you very much. Signing off.
Bye bye, guys. Thank you. Have a good night and a good weekend ahead.
Bye bye.
Good afternoon everyone.